Now we can use the animation information of this dummy object to move the object that we then want to see in our scene. To do that, select the object, go to the motion control rollout, go to assign controller for position and choose position constraint. It asks us what our target is, and let's then click on our dummy and deselect, and already you can see that we are moving along with the dummy object now. This is all we need to prepare. Now we can right click on the object, click on any bake, and bake selected objects, the complete timeline, bake animation. You can see we have all the keyframes here now. Also, the position controller has been deleted. The next step then would be to define the different segments of the animation of this object, and as we've already talked about in another tutorial, you do this using the track view dope sheet and the notes tracks. I have already added these segments here. This is for the first line, the first 50 frames, and then here for the second line. And I've also set up the animation components for this object correctly, so now you could really use this object in the game engine and you could export it because it has the keyframed animation. Just one last thing. What happens if your level designer tells you, oh, I want a little change here. I don't want this second path to look like this, but to look like this. The problem is, the dummy object will follow along the new path. However, the baked animation of this object doesn't update. That's the problem with keyframed animation. What we need to do is we need to reassign the object to the controller and first delete all the keyframes that are here. So just delete them. Don't go to animation, delete selected animation, because this will also delete the notes tracks. If you just delete the keyframes down here in the timeline, the notes tracks will stay intact, and that would be unfortunate if we lost those and would have to go through and reassign them everywhere. So just delete the keyframes here, or you can also delete the keyframes in the dope sheet if you select them here and then hit the delete key on your keyboard. Then again, go to the motions control panel, assign a motion controller as you did before, position constrained, select the dummy object, and now you can see we move along the new path. And again, the last thing we need to do is bake the animation for the selected object, bake animation, and again we are done and we can export the scene. Just one last tip, you may ask yourself, can this object also rotate along this path, so orient along this path? Yes, it can, of course. Let's first of all delete the keyframes that we have. In the dummy object's path constraint rollout, here we are, just tick this box, follow, and it will then automatically align to the path. If we now assign the dummy to this object, we need to take care not only of the position, but also of the rotation. So let's have a look at that quickly. Go to the position controller and assign the position constraint and use the object dummy. But also go to the rotation parameter and assign a controller here, and that is called orientation constraint. Again, you select as a target the dummy object, and now you can see the object not only moves along, but it also orientates correctly. Again, you would just have to hit any bake animation, and you would have also the rotation information in the keyframes, and you could export them and use them in the game.